And now to the issue of school safety. MSD is a school of 3,800 students and multiple buildings spanning several city blocks. All were protected by one student resource officer, a licensed Broward Sheriff's deputy. While much has been debated about his actions that day, having school resource officers on campus is seen by many as a key deterrent to violence. Under the new MSD school safety law, Florida's public schools will divvy up over $98 million to improve the physical security of school buildings. That means adding things like steel doors, upgraded door locks, and bulletproof glass. The state allocated almost that same amount for additional school resource officers. The new law requires at least one officer at every public school and one officer per 1,000 students at larger schools. The most controversial part of the law is the $67 million set aside for the Coach Aaron Feist Guardian Program to train and arm some school staffers. Coach Feist lost his life protecting students at MSD. And under this voluntary Marshall Plan, counselors, coaches, and librarians would be allowed to carry guns, but not classroom teachers. Teachers across the state, however, have widely pushed back on the idea of being armed. And now for more on school safety, I'd like to start with Superintendent Runcie. Let's talk about the amount of money that has been put towards this. $97.5 million for SROs statewide, money for active shooter training, $98.9 million to improve physical school safety. What does that mean to you as a superintendent? What does that look like at a school?
Well, first, let me certainly applaud the legislature for getting 7026 passed and providing additional dollars for school safety. It's not enough, but it's a good start. It will allow us to put more school resource officers out into our schools and be able to provide the additional protections that we need. So we're going to work through that. There's a piece there for $98 million for school physical security measures, but that is going to be a competitive grant process. And what we have to do in Broward and are embarking on now is doing a security risk assessment of all our schools in Broward County, complete that by August. The applications to compete for this grant money they're due in December, and it is my understanding it'll be awarded in the first quarter of 2019. So that's not really going to have an impact on the district until probably the 2019-2020 school year. We've got to put things in place now. And some of the things that we're doing now is to make sure that just having good habits and behaviors in the school and enforcing protocols we already have in place, single point of entry, make sure the gates are always closed. Make sure that classroom doors are always locked. Make sure that the folks that are monitoring the campus are doing that with a high degree of vigilance around the campus. We are also completing our single point of entry projects. So every school in Broward County, by the end of this year, no later than the first quarter of 2019, will have single point of entry. That's limiting the way in through fencing and door systems. We're upgrading all of our camera security systems. That will be done by June of this year, making sure that's in place. We're continuing to do our Code Red training, which we do at all our schools. That is the foundation for active shooter. And we are enhancing that for our middle schools and our high schools. We're putting a new curriculum together to be able to launch that going into next year. Some specific things around Marjory Stoneman Douglas, and I issued communication out to the community today because the last 24, 36 hours have been unacceptable in terms of what we've seen in terms of some security lapses. So I had a conversation with the governor. He's sent out communication and he's going to help provide additional support through Florida Highway Patrol. So we're going to be able to man every gate at the school during the school hours and for after school activities. We will also be implementing a program with clear backpacks for all the students starting after spring break. We are also going to funnel students and visitors to some confined points where we're actually going to wand folks like you would see in airports and so forth, similar to what you would do
like
around metal
into a
detectors.
stadium. We talked about that earlier.
Yeah, it's basically like going into a stadium,
Yeah.
the same type of thing. So we're going to really beef up and enhance security measures at the schools. That's what the community wants. That's what the faculty needs to see, because people need to have a clear sense that everything that's possible that we're putting in place. So we're going to go a little bit overboard, but I think the situation requires it at this point in time.
I want to bring in Angie. We were speaking earlier, just to remind everybody, you're the legislative chair for the Florida PTA. You have your pulse on what parents are saying in schools. Talk about this sense of security. Parents want something done now, just kind of like what the superintendent was talking about.
Yes. So yes, parents are concerned with what's happening in their schools right now. And as Superintendent Runcie mentioned, there's a timeline. So there's assessments that have to happen, and then there's grants, and they're going to get funded. And most of the changes that we see won't come until the 2019-2020 school year. And parents are concerned. They want to know what is going to happen now. And I commend Superintendent Runcie, because it sounds like he's put in a plan, and I encourage and hope that all districts across the state are doing that same type of assessment and putting in a plan. But parents want to know now what that plan is, what their districts are planning on doing. How are they going to keep the kids safe? Are they doing the risk assessments? Because I hear from parents are on the front lines. They're on the front lines with the teachers. Other than the teachers, they're the next point of contact at schools. They're in these schools. And they're telling me, Angie, the buzzer doesn't work. The cameras aren't working. There's a lot of things, a lot going on right now that could be easy fixes that districts need to look at and need to be doing. And they need to be transparent with parents as much as they can be without giving away plans, because we don't want to make schools in danger. We understand that there's got to be a protocol in place. But we need to have open communications with our community. Parents need to know what the plans are. Kids need to know what the plans are. We heard a lot from students after Stoneman Douglas, and they're like, we didn't know what to do. We don't have active shooting drills. And I know several students called upon legislature to put that in the bill, and it's in the bill that now we have active shooting drills. There's going to be an app in place. There's going to be certain things that are going to happen. As parents, I think we're worried that they're not going to happen quick enough. And so you see a lot of PTA stepping in, and we're concerned from the PTA perspective that PTAs are going to start pulling out their checkbooks, trying to get those schools hardened quicker, make those schools safer, quicker, and we're concerned about the function and the role of the PTA in that, because we do have guidelines with our 501(c) status, our nonprofit status.
Because that's not necessarily the PTA's role,
and it's not our
right?
job,
Right.
and we shouldn't be paying for something that the legislature should be paying for, and that will work really well in affluent neighborhoods. But then what about our other schools?
that's the equity
We don't
issue.
want to, we don't want to create an equity issue. We don't want to have disparity among schools. All children deserve to be safe, and as Superintendent Runcie mentioned before, we have this great bill that gives us mental health funding, that gives us the hardening of school funding, and we're so thankful for that. We're a little discouraged with the per student funding that came out, the 47 cents, which is our flexibility within our budget for our students. And we feel like our kids deserve to be safe and a high quality education, and our teachers deserve raises. So we're a little disappointed with some of the funding structures in that. But yeah, we would like to see that timeline accelerated if at all possible.
All right, we have another Facebook question. Go ahead, Emma Kate.
Thanks, Sam. Isabella S. says, how can we help our teachers be better prepared in case of a school shooting?
Superintendent Runcie, you want to take that one?
I think absolutely we need to continue to do what we're doing in Broward. We need to continue to have Code Red training, which we actually conduct with the staff. Those are followed by actual drills in the school. So what we will do is and they go on throughout the course of the school year. What I would like to see happen is for those to occur in the beginning of the school year, so that everybody's prepared at the onset of the school year, and that we're diligent in making sure that happens. It's a little easier to do that at the elementary schools than it is at our secondary schools, but it's something that absolutely has to be done, and really give our teachers and our students the skills to do what they can to protect themselves to the maximum extent possible.
Let's talk about the SRO program. We saw the SRO not go in at MSD. We've all seen that video, and I think we were all stunned that he didn't go in. The sheriff said he was supposed to do that and engage the shooter and take out the shooter. Now in Maryland, just this week, we did see the SRO take out the shooter. How do you feel about the SRO program, and what needs to be done to make sure that these officers are well trained and do what they're supposed to do?
Well, look, a couple of things. First, this whole situation that we have this contrast in SRO should really speak to the challenges of trying to arm teachers, right? There's a whole really different level of skill that I believe that you need in order to be effectively use firearms to be able to defend and protect the school. We need highly trained individuals where there's clear expectations of what it takes to become a school resource officer. These can't be jobs that you just go to and you're near the end of retirement or it's an easy job to go to. No, these are the most important jobs in the community, keeping our kids and our schools safe. So there needs to be a high bar for somebody to actually get into one of these roles. They need to be adequately trained. There needs to be accountability and monitoring, and so that they're able to go and execute well and that the community has confidence that they can do their job. I would say on large campuses like Stoneman Douglas, one school resource officer is not sufficient. And so consequently, we will have probably a dozen or more on this site, but we need to come to some standard. I think it's a good start to have maybe one per every 1,000. So some of our larger schools will have 3 or 4, maybe even up to 5. But again, it's not just about quantity, it's about quality, and we got to set clear expectations. The school administrators got to hold them accountable, and the agencies that they come from, whether it's been from the municipality or the Broward Sheriff's Office, it's got to be very clear of what we're looking for.
So then how do you feel about this Aaron Feist Guardian program that the legislature pushed through? It is now law.
So what I would say to you is that the Marshall Program, as it's also referred to, is we need to make sure that we have trained law enforcement personnel, sufficient numbers on campuses. In my view, when we start talking about arming school staff, to me that's saying, look, we don't want to invest the resources to get the real trained law enforcement people that we need on our campuses. We're going to put another burden on school staff, not pay them appropriately, and move on to like the next session. No, that doesn't work. If we're really serious about solving this problem, hardening our schools, let us get highly trained, experienced, effective law enforcement personnel. That's all they're doing for a living. That's all they're thinking about. We want our teachers to focus on books. We want them to focus on kids and giving them the skills they need to be successful and not worrying about firearms. And then the whole logistics of having firearms in classrooms and schools, just introducing more guns there.
Yeah.
What happens if there's an incident going on and a teacher is shooting and actually hits a student? Where's the liability come in for that? There's so many unanswered pieces. Look, this is not the Wild West. These are our classrooms. We got our precious kids and our hardworking, diligent teachers there. We need some real solutions that are practical and not creating, again, Wild West scenarios in schools by putting more guns.
And you were nodding your head.
Yeah,
Go ahead.
as the PTA fought against having that portion of the bill, we asked for the Marshall Program to be removed. The majority of parents that I've spoken to do not want guns around their kids. I've had parents tell me they will remove their child out of any school that a teacher is armed. I've had teachers tell me they'll quit if there's teachers that are on campus that are carrying guns. It's just something that most parents feel vehemently against that type of program for many of the reasons that they mentioned. We personally would like to see that $67 million for the Marshall Program go for school resource officers. Yes. And we have concerns about school resource officers. Do we have the personnel to fill those positions? Because I know in my county, we have real concerns about being able to find the personnel resources to fill the 166 positions that we need. So what's our plan? Like, what's our plan to fill those positions? Those are some of the questions that parents have.
Yeah, and I just want to add something. I mean, let's be clear. The Marshall Program, the Guardian Program, whatever poll-tested word they want to name it, it's a terrible idea. It's a terrible idea. But let's also say something, which is why they named it after Aaron, who I graduated with. He was an unarmed coach who ran into that building, and he's a hero, and he gave his life to save students. When the SRO didn't take up a position, didn't run in the building, he hid in the stairwell. The video shows him hiding in the stairwell. Those students depended on him to protect them, and he failed. And so what the superintendent is talking about is, I don't care if we have 5 or 10. If they're just not going to do their job, whether it's 1 or 10 of them, then the program doesn't make any sense. And so I think the superintendent hit on it. I do think that there was this idea that this was the retirement program, especially in a city like Parkland, which is the safest city in the state of Florida. And that was a failure. It was a complete and utter failure. The fact that the governor now has to come in to provide officers to secure the school is another failure. Why does the governor have to send FHP and FDLE to Broward County to protect one school? Well, I'll tell you why, because you got officers falling asleep in their car. This is outrageous, okay? And the parents I talked to, they thought that after this happened, oh, Douglas is going to be the safest school. There's no question there's going to be 100 officers roaming Douglas because that's the obvious, most practical thing. Didn't happen. Happened for a week, and then they disappeared. And so, listen, the city thanks the governor for stepping in and providing leadership there and sending the officers. They thank the superintendent for coming up with these new innovative ideas like clear backpacks and wanding. People think, well, that's going to be inconvenient, that's taking some rights away. I can tell you in my town, they don't care right now. They want to know that when their kids learning history or they're learning geography or they're learning about government, that they're safe. And so I support all the things the school board is doing. But let's be clear, I hope the governor lives up to his promise when he signed the bill in which he said he was looking forward to moving the $67 million out of the Aaron Feist Guardian Program into the SRO program.
And he's communicated that to me as well.
Go ahead, Bob.
No, I was saying to Representative Moskowitz's point, the governor's communicated to me as well that he will do that. So I sincerely hope that comes to fruition.
Go ahead.
Pam, let me just say a few things. First of all, there's been 17 school shootings in the United States in the last few months. So this is not an isolated problem. And I completely agree that we need to get some of the best in our schools protecting them. So school resource officers is a great idea. When it was introduced a few years ago, it wasn't without controversy because of the idea of guns on campus. But again, as we saw, you know, when the answer to somebody shooting people is not to just have an unarmed person throwing their body on someone, as courageous as that is, it's to have someone that has a weapon to be able to take them out, as it happened in Maryland. As far as how we fund that, the funding of schools has always been a shared state and local responsibility. So the state is stepping up in a tremendous way with hundreds of millions of dollars to provide more school resource officers and training. Each jurisdiction, each county, each superintendent, each sheriff has the choice whether to participate in this Guardians program or not. If they choose not to participate, that's fine. Then they're going to have to find the resources in the community for more police officers. And it's great and that's encouraged. But for some of the areas that perhaps don't have the resources, this is a viable option for them to take advantage of.
Yeah. Quickly.
Yeah, just a quick thing about the school resource program. So the way it works in Broward is Broward County pays somewhere around $47,000, $48,000 in partnership with a local municipality or the Broward Sheriff's Office, and they cover the other half. So the dollars that we're receiving, under the same model, we would be able to add a lot of school resource officers, but we got to recognize that this is going to put an additional financial burden on the municipalities, and they're going to have to agree to the other piece. It's not just a one-way street, and so that's going to present a challenge in terms of meeting it.
All right, that has to be the last word on